Hi, everybody. So Amelia and I are here together today, and we're going to talk about Mary Magdalene. And one of the things that I think about when I think about Mary Magdalene is the different societies and how they've been run. So ever since Earth has been taken over by a more, we'll just say, ever since it dropped into 3D, it's become very imbalanced. So it started out with a matriarchal leadership, and then it turned into a patriarchal leadership. And if I'm pronouncing those wrong, I'm sorry. But so men have been in charge for a very long time, and now we're moving into a balance. And that balance is going to be really beautiful because we are back in the fifth density and back in the fifth dimension. And we're letting go of all those old programs. So pretty soon we're going to start to see a lot of beautiful stuff. But I want to talk about Mary Magdalene's role in the attempted ascension that was Jesus's time. How are you, Amelia?
I'm doing pretty well, just riding all these energy waves as best I can. So just doing the work.
So busy. It's been so busy, and a lot of shaky feelings within the body have been going on. But
Mhm.
so Mary Magdalene, if we talk, and if you guys are part of my normal audience, you know that I believe Jesus was a prince, and I did a lot of shows about this, but Jesus basically came from a royal family, and his person, Mary Magdalene, was his actual spouse. So she had a lot to do with what was going on, and she had huge creation energy, just like Jesus did. And he was known to us as Yeshua. So Jesus, that name didn't really exist in the past. But tell me some of the stuff that you uncovered because you've been really researching this, Amelia.
Yes, it's been little bits and pieces, and I'm definitely not done researching it. But I grew up in a very religious home, and so that was never she was never really talked about at all. And see, my mom was kind of a church hopper, so we were Baptist, we were this, we were that. We did all sorts of different things, and they never really talked about her except in the way that was falsified, you know. And so, but I always knew that that wasn't right, but I never really paid attention to it until recently. So the last 5 or 6 years, her energy, her story has come more into my view. And several years ago, I bought the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and I've read parts of it, and it is very historical, recounting, I guess, testimony of the times. And who knows how much of that has been altered too. I haven't really asked that question either.
Right.
But I did discover that was it 10 to 12 pages were missing from all the copies they found, somebody had said. I was like, what were on those 10 to 12 pages? Yeah. And and maybe you have thoughts on that, or if that's something that's part of this journey we're having.
Yeah. So really who she actually was, I think, is that's what was on the missing pages and what her role really was, like the magic that was within her
Hmm.
and the ideals that she carried and how she really intended absolute good for everyone. Um, Also, I get that the Knights Templar that she survived, you know, when Jesus passed, and she went on and they had children. So I do believe that when the Knights Templar were gotten rid of, that they were actually searching for her bloodline and for Jesus's bloodline. So that is a whole nother thing that maybe we can talk about later. But really what they were here for was to help create ascension. And they really wanted that to happen at that time. And that's why they came to Earth. That's why they were born here. And it didn't work at that moment. Like it was still too dense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was really hard for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why I've just over my lifetime just had experiences with different knowledge about Knights Templar. And you had mentioned the Da Vinci Code in one of the videos. I'm like, yes, no wonder I was like so intrigued by that story, and I just felt very connected to her energy somehow. And just when I tune into her energy too, it's just a um very strong. It almost has like that Wonder Woman energy, if you've seen those movies. But very calm and very peaceful, but just very strong. I don't know, it's just a basic combination of what I see for her. Um, and where else was I going with this? I don't remember. But I am also wondering, one of my questions recently, just in all my findings, is people often connect the Sophia energy with Mary Magdalene. So I'm wondering how that ties in.
I actually get that the Sophia energy was basically a distorted, maybe kind of a bit shadowy version of her, but also
Mhm.
that the people that were here, so the beings that took over Earth, were really quite mad at the being that was Mary Magdalene. So the Sophia energy is tied into that.
Mm.
And they made Sophia to be out much worse than Sophia actually was. That's what I get about it. So, because it never felt right to me.
Me too.
And yeah, so it's basically another fractal of the being that was Mary Magdalene. And it was a traumatized version of her and
Mhm.
was not nearly as negative as what they say. So, if you decode all of the story of Sophia, and I have not read it, but the things I have heard, I haven't liked. It didn't sit right with me. But
Mhm.
the if you decode it, I feel that you would be able to decode it in a way if you look at it from the point of view of almost like a traumatized child creating that story. That's what it
Mhm.
feels like to me. Yeah.
So that makes sense why it never felt like any of the information was complete whenever I would hear different people speak about the Sophia. And the word that came in for me was more of an essence now. It feels like it's been transmuted as
Yeah.
everything else has been, and become whole again. So,
Yeah. Just like the rest of, like, everybody has an oversoul, and my famous pine cone. So everybody has an oversoul, and it's all of your lifetimes combined. So one of these would have been Sophia from her oversoul, and that has been transmuted, that has been healed at this
mhm.
point. And but I don't feel that it was nearly as negative as what was portrayed. And we
Yeah.
have to remember that, even in the Bible, like the Bible was distorted. They took out all those books. They erased her and called her a prostitute. Like just so many things. And that mainly the beings that took over here were more masculine than feminine. So every being has a slightly is not in perfect balance. So most beings have slightly more male lifetimes than female, or more female than male.
Mhm.
And every being has both usually, but they I don't know how to put it, but the distortion was just too massive for them to. I think I lost the plot right there.
Yeah,
Explain.
I was following.
Yeah. So
Just as-
yeah, but basically they just were so traumatized and they were more masculine. So
Mhm.
they subdued the feminine. They basically pushed the feminine down. And that
Mhm.
most of that came from one being. Most of those feelings, most of those distortions came from one being. And there were a group of them that kind of came together that were more traumatized, but there was one leader there. Yeah.
That makes
So,
sense. So that
yeah. And
makes
if
sense
you
why
read,
the, oh, sorry.
oh, just one more thing. If you read the Law of One, you can kind of see that. So I really like the Law of One to explain a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to listen to that sometime, and because I've seen so many different aspects of that, but I really want to see the whole picture of it, even though we probably experience it all the time. Um, I wonder if that's why the Sophia energy was coming to the forefront just in my work with clients and different things, because it feels like with that restoration, it's helping the divine feminine move into that matriarch energy to me. It's,
Yeah.
since it's all integrating again. And so we're,
Right.
yeah, bringing things back into balance with that as well.
I
So
think so.
that's good news.
Yeah. If you think about it, think about women in general and the trauma that has been put upon them for lifetimes, eons, like going all the way back to Atlantis, basically, that women have been more suppressed and they've been vilified and also treated as second class citizens for a very long time. And now the women's lib came in. And I don't really think that that was beneficial to women either, because actually they ended up working twice as hard. So they had to have a job and a home that they had to keep and the children. And the men just, I mean, the attitude is when you go to work, you should be able to come home and relax. And that never really went away for a lot of men, but it did for women. Like they never got that privilege of doing that. And that's
Right.
balancing out now too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're seeing more like true partnerships
Yeah.
that are really rebalancing versus the old ways. Like say if you know, from the 50s, that those sorts of expectations to now, it's come a long way. There was some, like you said, some distorted elements moving through that too. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like everything.
Like everything.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a very distorted world that we've been living in.
Hmm.
And we were at the Roslin Chapel when we were over there this last time in Europe.
That's right.
Yeah. And you could feel the distortion in the chapel itself. You know, there was a lot of, like, they'd have one column that looked like one thing and then one that looked like it came from another place, and like a lot of mishmash stuff, and multiple timelines converged in that chapel. So
Mm.
it was pretty disorienting in there. And there had been some really negative things that happened down in the basement of that chapel.
Oof.
So it really is interesting that they use that in the movie. But
Mhm.
I think that they were somehow connected, the bloodline was somehow connected to that area and maybe even the chapel itself.
Well, that makes sense. I remember learning, we'll see how true this is too, that, Joshua and Mary traveled to England and they were, trying to move that, ascension energy and bring that message to that community there. And so I'm wondering if they actually did literally end up where that chapel is or in the area, or if that was true.
I feel like maybe they had spoken there, like it was a big gathering or something in
Okay.
that spot or in that area. That's what comes in from higher self. And we have to remember that that was basically Tartarian times or Roman times.
Hmm.
So I think Roman rolled into Tartaria, basically, is how it worked. And they had technology. We just didn't know about it. We've been told that they didn't have any technology and everything was super primitive. So they traveled all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then I'm curious, after Joshua passed, like what was kind of her generalized path? Like where did she go or did she stay put somewhere? Um, did her children move on doing other things? I've got lots of follow-up questions here, but what are some important things to help with this process with the transition we're going through?
She moved on. I mean, she had to basically go hide, I feel like. And the the children were also in hiding. Most of them didn't know who they were either. So it's like they would go into hiding and then they would not tell their own children who they actually were, but there would be some
Mm.
kind of, I don't know, something hidden that if they needed it, it could show up. But I think the Knights Templar were part of that whole thing and they were watching over that family.
Mhm.
But when I think about, like, well, what was the role there for them? They were keeping that family safe, even if the family didn't know that they were keeping them safe.
Right.
So,
And that was also portrayed even in the movie, The Da Vinci Code too, just like sneaking around and watching different things. And
mhm.
so I wonder if that was why. And then did they have three children or how many did they have?
I get that they had three. Yep. Two
Okay.
boys and a girl.
That's what I was getting too. Okay. So then the divine feminine being carried on through the daughter in a stronger
Yep.
way too. That's interesting.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And I feel like they came in like that quite a bit. So they would have that same scenario quite a bit.
Two boys and a
Where they would
girl.
come,
And
yeah, two boys and a girl, they would come in together, they would work on Ascension. And I feel like it was just so dense right then. Because I
mhm,
think they also were here working on Ascension, or the energy was amping up for Ascension right around the hippie times, like in the 60s.
mhm,
But it just couldn't land. Like, the once all of the mind altering substances were brought in, a lot of that was brought in by government. But
mhm.
once that was brought in, it's like they couldn't complete it because everybody was too out of whack. Yep.
Interesting. So we just kept, growing, growing, growing with this divine feminine energy, and then it just kept like dipping and dipping with different blockages, government stuff, like you said, um, family distortions, I mean, expectations, gender roles, all these different concepts that have been twisted around, spun around, and just
Yeah.
basically altered so much that we don't even know what the divine blueprint really is. So,
No, we are going back into it though. So,
yeah.
and I think as things get exposed through the church, a lot of stuff will come out about the truth of the two of them because they really tried hard and then their story was stolen and basically turned into something else. So, I mean,
Right.
if you really want a Bible to read, I would look at the Ethiopian Bible because it's more intact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I purchased again about the same time I got the Gospel of Mary Magdalene because she wasn't in it was the Sefer Bible that I found. It was the Ethiopian, that's just one name for it. And
Hmm.
so I bought hers separately, and there's lots of options to purchase, but
Yeah.
um and lots of people tuning into Mary Magdalene energy too. So,
Right. She's coming in really strong now. And I believe that soul is, really participating in the ascension of Earth
mhm.
right now. Hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm feeling more beings around me, sometimes I'm like, okay, who's here? Sometimes it's her, sometimes it's Yahshua, sometimes it's other ETs, sometimes it's, and there's always something to learn when they're coming in
Yeah.
and visiting. So,
Right. Well, and I think their relationship was not always perfect either. And I think that's another part of what we're doing is we're coming into a time when relationships are balanced and
mhm,
respect is there for both people. And also, if you have something that you're doing, then no matter what it is, it's respected by your divine partner. Like, we're doing things together, we're doing things in a beautiful way. And that divine partner is a part of you. So you're actually really engaged with them, but you're also all those icky things that had to do with jealousy and people stepping out on the other person. Those kind of things aren't really going to exist at all anymore, because why would you want to? Because basically your divine partner is part of yourself.
Hmm.
So why would you step out on yourself if you love yourself? And I think that's important for people to know, that it's time to let go of that stuff, because that's very
Yes,
3D. Yeah.
very 3D.
Hmm.
Well, and I think in my own experience, I had to choose a very dysregulated, 3D marriage partner to learn the truth
Hmm.
about the divine feminine and how to step out of those old constructs. Because the sense of justice would rise up in me many, many, many times throughout that experience, just to keep that light and fluffy. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was all part of the stepping stone to make me see the truth about the reality.
Yeah. And it's so important, because we're coming into a time where everybody is going to be respected and loved and cared for. Whether you care for them or not, they're cared for by themselves and the universe. And maybe we have to remember, in the end, we are all one, and everybody is having a different experience, and all that energy is going back into the oneness. And that's how everything is expanding, and we're learning more. And it's a
Hmm.
beautiful thing what we're all doing, but it has been really polarized and kind of tough in the past. And now
Yeah.
we're moving into a different thing. So it's going to be quite different and much more supportive for men and women.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think so many people have gone through it, and I think that will help the oneness, the collective, to see the truth much more easily. Hopefully,
Yeah.
with this
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
But Mary Magdalene was a creator being, just like
Hmm.
Yeshua. And they knew magic, like they had magic, and they knew how to build the grids, or at least work with them while they were here. So they were doing things that we're just learning how to do now. And that's why the crystalline body, the Christ consciousness, is coming
Hmm.
into everyone right now, that is moving forward in this beautiful time that we're in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that that balancing of both masculine and feminine aspects of us, and bringing that divine blueprint into the body, mind, soul, all aspects, and then truly experiencing that energy versus the way it used to be is so powerful and beautiful. And imagine that it was set up so long ago by the Magdalene Yeshua combination, um, and how that's
Yeah.
still expanding now.
It's
That's
still
amazing.
expanding. Yeah. I'm excited for the real truth to come out, more of the detail, but
Hmm.
that bloodline still lives on today. And
Hmm.
a lot of them are part of this whole ascension process, and
Yeah.
they have been some of the first people recruited to be part of,
Mhm.
the white hat process, I think. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
will often pick up if people or souls, that I'm working with have a connection to that bloodline, because it must be vast at this point
Hmm.
with that, to a point, I suppose. Um, but it's just really amazing to see how we can pull in that energy right here and
Yeah.
now, really anchor in that divine feminine balance. So that feels elusive, but there's a lot to it. So
There is.
yeah.
There is a lot to it. But as we evolve, it doesn't feel good when somebody's stepping on who you are. And that is kind of how the past was. We would just people please and then do what somebody else wanted. And I don't feel like we're doing that anymore. And it's not that we're being mean, we're just saying that really doesn't work for me.
Mhm.
And as people do that, their relationships are going to get stronger. Their everything about them will get stronger, but their relationships will be better, stronger, and
Mhm.
more complete because they will be themselves, and then they will attract in their divine partner.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I've always felt for many individuals who may be single or newly single. It's like just everything is working out for that true connection to be formed, if that's what's meant to be, too, because then it's already removed a lot of those layers that you might have had to work through in the 3D to get to a
Yeah.
more balanced state. So I think that's also pretty amazing to see how that's coming out for people right now, too.
I do too, and I'm really excited for all the information about Mary Magdalene to be brought out
Hmm.
and to be revealed so that people that have been hanging on to religion and just the doctrine, the indoctrination of religion is fine if that's what you're into and if you're really seeing it for what it is. Because for me, religious get-togethers are a beautiful community a lot of the time,
Hmm.
but also there's a lot of judgment going on there. And when I was a kid, I really didn't resonate with going to church. And we didn't
Hmm.
go to church, in my family, but if I went to see my cousins or whatever, and I would get into huge trouble because I would say, that's not true. That's not how it works, you know? So
Yep.
as somebody is up there yelling, about fearing God, I would be
Mm-hmm.
like, no, that's not how it works. And I've had cousins be denied to come to my house because of that. So, just those kind of things. It's really cool that people are getting more and more aware of
Hmm.
all of that. And if you feel like I can't explore, I'm not allowed to explore and go and see what else is going on, if you may get into trouble because you want to read a different Bible, or then, you know, think about that a little bit from a higher perspective, because that feels really controlling and very patriarchal. Yeah.
Very, because they've controlled it down to this window. That's the patriarchal viewpoint versus the expansive knowledge that is likely hidden under that city where all the hidden libraries were. Um, don't know what words we can say or not, but yeah, how much of like Mary Magdalene's story is hidden in that space that has been, haven't they recovered it? They just haven't released it all yet, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah. And so I'm just curious if is that where the 12 missing pages are? Is there more than just 12 missing pages? No,
No, I get there's only 12, but they are missing. And they were the most important part of the book,
of
of
course.
course. So,
I know.
and the Library of Alexandria, I do believe that it was moved to the Vatican. So
Hmm.
I would not be surprised in any way if they find all that information. And it feels close. Those things feel close now because
Hmm.
people are becoming more ready for it.
Yeah. I always knew that they didn't destroy everything there too in Alexandria. So, 'cause I love books and I love information, so I was very happy about that. Um, but yeah, I can't wait to see the actual the words, because as I was reading the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, I'm like, this is kind of dry. There's like, it's a recounting. There's lots of little stories and connections with different people and who she was interacting with, but I'm like, there's got to be more than this.
Right. And
So
there's probably her own writing
yeah.
that will be found because I'm sure that she also wrote.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's going to be really cool to see that come out because they were both. just amazing beings, and they
Hmm.
had so much to offer, but humanity wasn't ready. And the distorted beings that were, basically running the planet were definitely not ready. They were doing everything they could to stop it.
Hmm. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to that power energy, right? That control and power, which became known as the patriarchal energy. Um, and they just wanted to keep everything again contained in this small space of control. And we're much more expansive than that. And they didn't like that. So,
No, no, they did not like that. And that is why it's so beautiful the time we're in now, because it's shifted.
mhm,
And all that's left is our memory, our programming, our ideas from the past that live around in our subconscious, and they're being pushed out. I mean, this last weekend is a very big testament to that. Those
mhm.
energies have been really pushed hard, and it's a great time to be alive now. And I'm excited to hear more about Mary Magdalene. So maybe
It
we'll do
is.
another show about it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
bring up some more points. If you guys in the comments can let us know what you're
Mhm.
interested in finding out, then Amelia and I will both tune into those questions. And I would really love to talk about her more because she doesn't get very much press. And she definitely
No.
deserves more energy, than she's been getting. So I would love that. And it's basically the same thing as when they placed the moon and they took away the energy from the earth and they placed it on the moon, and they said everything about women was basically based on the moon, when
Mhm.
that's not true, and Native Americans remember when it wasn't there. Like,
Yeah.
it's in their stories. So that's a distortion, and we're ready to put everything back right again.
I think I even said I'm done letting my body be ruled by the lunar cycles. I'm done with that. There's so many things that just don't add up with that. So let's move on.
Yes, yes. Thank
This
you so
cleansing
much,
period.
Amelia. This was beautiful.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna put all of Amelia's links below. She's got YouTube. She's doing individual sessions. She's amazing. And, definitely check her out because I think you would really enjoy her work.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.